Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric here with Iraq Veteran 8888. All right, got a little news update for you. This one is not necessarily 2A related, but I swear it does kind of come full circle. And if you give me a little bit of time on this, I promise you'll understand where I'm coming from on this. But I want to talk a little bit about Elon Musk purchasing stakes in Twitter. I think it's kind of important, and I swear this does have some direct correlation to firearms and to censorship. Those two things are pretty closely intertwined, and if you give me a little bit of your time, I think you'll come away from this understanding where I'm coming from. I would like to take a moment to thank our friends at Sonoran Desert Institute for supporting our videos. They have some amazing distance learning gunsmithing programs. You can learn about reloading, more of the business side. If you're looking for a career in gunsmithing technology, they are a great group of people to look into. They've got amazing instructors, great financial incentives, really good programs, great training aids. I mean, just a great group of people. And if that's something you're looking to do in life and become a gunsmith, look no further. Check them out, Sonoran Desert Institute, SDI, and tell them we sent you. All right, this comes from foxbusiness.com. This article was written by Lucas Manfredi at Fox Business. I'm not going to lie, I don't typically like Fox News, but I thought this article was pretty concise and fair and straight to the point. So why does this matter to us gun people, right? Why, right? Well, the reason I think is because there's a lot of people on, I hate to say this, I hate to draw these conclusions, but I have to use these terms because society uses them, and unfortunately, we're kind of bound by that a little bit, right? But they're right. I hate to hear that term all the time, but the right views Elon Musk as a kind of a polarizing figure who's a little bit of a, let's just say maybe a meme lord, a freedom fighter, someone who, maybe supports free speech much, much more than your average billionaire would, of course. So I think a lot of people view Musk as, maybe a bit of more of a humanitarian than most really rich people. I mean, a lot of things that Musk has done in the past, it's pretty charitable, right? He does give a lot of money to charity, and he seems to have his head screwed on straight. So when something like this happens, you kind of think, well, is Elon trying to move the needle in a way that, maybe people on the right, or let's just say conservative types or whatever, who have obviously been shadow banned, deplatformed, censored, all of these terrible things that happen to someone on a platform. If the owners of that platform did not agree with your views, they'll just simply block you, right? Elon seems to have a considerable amount of disregard and disdain for those rules, and I think, thinks they're terrible. Let's get into this a bit. Let's see. Elon Musk disclosed a 9.2% stake in Twitter on Monday, sending the company's stock soaring more than 25%. But some analysts don't see the Tesla chief executive stopping there. Though the billionaire's stake in the social media company is considered passive, some Wall Street analysts believe Musk has much more planned for Twitter's long-term strategy. While Musk has expressed interest in building a rival to Twitter, the CFRA Research Senior Equity Analyst Angelo Zeno warns that a potential all-out buyout of the company could still be on the table. I'm not going to read this entire article because it's kind of lengthy and wordy, but I'll try to get to some of the juicy points here. While a passive stake by Musk won't change the fundamentals, we do think his investment will drive greater interest from consumers, Zeno wrote in a note to clients on Monday. Musk's actual investment, less than $3 billion, is a very small percentage of his wealth, and an all-out buyout should not be ruled out. So basically, right now, Musk owns the highest amount of shares in Twitter. 9.2% is a ton. That's a lot of... So you ever notice how anything that Musk, ends up getting associated with kind of blows up and takes off and does crazy things? All right, anytime he tweets about meme coins like the Dogecoin, right, it goes nuts. All right, Musk bought, shares of Twitter. What did Twitter stock do? It went up. So what Musk is actually doing is establishing himself as a brand builder, right? And in Twitter's case, maybe perhaps a savior. Elon Musk coming along and buying that stock from Twitter is probably the best thing that could ever happen to Twitter because it allows them to have some damage control and say, now that Elon Musk is on the board of directors now, he's promising or at least alluding to some potential changes. which one of the changes was, having an edit button. And I'll just say quickly about Twitter. I do like using Twitter. I am on Twitter. You can follow me at IraqVeteran8888. I'm on there. I think we got, I don't know, like 57,000 followers, And I wasn't very active on Twitter until like maybe a year or so ago. And I really got involved in the conversations and meeting some of the cool people that I met on Twitter. I really enjoy some of the conversations I have. And if people want to engage with me on a regular basis, you're probably most likely to get a response from me on Twitter. So that's why I engage with Twitter, because it's a little bit more instant gratification, and I can kind of put some thoughts out there. I can share articles. It's kind of a landing page for all of my random mental craziness, okay? Now, why does this matter to someone watching a gun channel, right? Because censorship is a huge, huge issue, right? Musk has, sort of hinted in the past that a company like Twitter is a little bit too big for their boots. So does that mean that he purchased the stock and intends to purchase more and to become much more of an equity holder in the means of trying to correct the problem from within and just let Twitter be the platform that it really can be at its maximum potential? Are we talking about reinstating Donald Trump? Are we talking about, rolling back a lot of the very draconian censorship and really crazy policies that have gotten the platform to where they are now? Who knows, right? Right now, it's kind of speculative as to what's going to happen. The billionaire posted a Twitter poll in March questioning whether the platform allows users to speak freely. Free speech is essential to a functioning democracy. Do you believe Twitter rigorously adheres to this principle, he wrote. More than 70% of the respondents said Twitter lacked a commitment to free speech, leading Musk to ask his more than 80 million followers what should be done. Given that Twitter serves as a de facto public town square, failing to adhere to free speech principles fundamentally undermines democracy. What should be done? Musk wrote in another tweet on March 22nd, is a new platform needed? Meanwhile, Wedbush Securities Managing Director of Equity Research Daniel Ives told Fox Business that Musk's stake will not remain passive for long, noting that it is just the start of a broader conversation with the company's board and management. Obviously, when you own a huge stake in a company, they tend to listen, right? I mean, that's what being a shareholder gives you, is the ability to have access to the higher echelon of people and affect some form of change. Now, you've got a guy that's a billionaire and that could use his money for anything he wants. He could buy a yacht and have a bridge in a country torn down in order to get the yacht out of dock, right, if he really wanted to. He could do anything with his wealth that he wants. And he's choosing to engage in a public space that affects everybody, right? Freedom of speech is obviously something that's important to a lot of people. And just because it's not important to the platform, and just because the owners of the platform want to use the protections that are given to them so that they can just censor whoever they want, just because they believe in that mantra doesn't mean the bulk of the users do. Now, granted, there's plenty of users that are going to sit there and chirp as lemmings and say, well, it's a private company, they can do what they want. Sure, that's true. But companies are also supported by a huge multitude and variety of different people, right? So it's just a very morally ambiguous situation. And if if Musk comes into this situation and tries to fix some things, that may possibly turn the tides culturally for all of the other social media platforms. Maybe they will see the success that Twitter will have being involved with Elon. That could come to pass, right? And maybe that means that they'll loosen up restrictions on some of the things that they're doing, right? And that will directly equate to gun owners, conservatives, let's just say rural people, whatever, right? Whatever type of divisive term that they want to apply to someone that they don't like, and that someone that just doesn't happen to think the way they do, right? Whatever term they want to apply to that is irrelevant, right? But those things can be rolled back and give everybody a bit of a chance to put their views out there and to grow followers, and that's how it's always been. Like, the early days of YouTube, the early days of Twitter, the early days of Instagram, even Facebook, which, of course, I'm still, after over a year, banned on Facebook with no recourse, no ability to retrieve my account. That's it. 820 some odd thousand followers, gone, right? So I think that people like Twitter at the management level, and obviously people like Elon Musk, have seen the blatant, just complete unpersoning of people on platforms like Facebook, who obviously is one of the worst offenders right now, followed closely by Instagram. And of course, TikTok went through this crazy phase where they were just banning people left and right. I think I had a TikTok account for literally 2 weeks before all my videos got banned. So I just gave up on posting and just quit doing it, right? But what kind of environment does that create when echo chambers only exist to serve the views of one very, very lopsided political stratum and not a more balanced and overall, inclusive type of view that comes from everybody, right? So if someone posts something on Twitter you don't like, you don't have to follow them, you don't have to comment, you don't have to engage. You can follow the people you want or don't follow them at all. So I don't understand. Like, it's a free website. People can go on there and post whatever they want. If you don't like it, don't read it. Don't search for it. Don't seek it out. Like, Twitter can give you as much as or as little as the things that you want. Whether it's discourse, whether you want to get on there and argue, well, you get too argumentative, someone can block you. I mean, that's fine, right? But let's get back to this a little bit here. He also believes Musk could influence the openness of Twitter's platform and how it controls content. Musk has already indicated that he does not agree with the appointment of Agrawal, and he desires some changes. This creates a bit more uncertainty about how Agrawal and the firm may respond to the firm's now largest shareholder, which supports our very high uncertainty rating. So says that Musk could help push the platform to invest more aggressively in its recently launched Twitter Blue subscription service, which offers premium features and app customizations for a small monthly fee. So, of course, it just goes on to discuss more the business side, but I think it's also a very important thing to mention the cultural side of it. And I think that Musk is putting his money where his mouth is, and he's engaging in the culture war. He realizes and sees and is made quite apparent that he sees these things that are happening, and he's wanting to use his wealth and use his influence to try and, at least the perception is, to try and right some wrongs that have been, done against a lot of people. And Musk seems like the kind of guy that likes a spicy meme from time to time. In fact, some of Elon Musk's tweets, I'm kind of like, wow, okay. He's not afraid to put it out there. Now, of course, he's Elon Musk, and he can get away with that more than the lowly peons can. But the point is, I think that he does truly want to see free speech come back to Twitter in the way that, we all really have envisioned it over the years. It'll be real interesting to see how this goes, and I think it's going to pave kind of an important thing for us gun owners too, right? Because what have gun owners dealt with the most when it comes to social media? Deplatforming, censorship, downright blacklisting. I mean, you can't even go on Instagram and find me without typing in my entire handle down to the last number, and then it'll pop up. So I'm shadow banned, and I've been shadow banned on that platform forever. My Facebook account was completely just destroyed and gone with no recourse to get it back. So is this an environment that we really want to support, right? Where people can just be banned for wrongthink, right? Do I seem like the kind of person to you that's unreasonable? Do I seem like the kind of person that doesn't represent a pretty wide variety of people in terms of my views? Do I seem like a person to you that's not objective and fair and tries to look at both sides of the equation? So when a group of social media companies sees that someone's trying to be fair and call out all sides on their hypocrisy when they see it, and they ban you, what does that tell you? That it's not about public discourse. It's not about trying to find the middle ground. It's not about trying to be fair. It's not about trying to be open and to be honest with each other. It's about controlling the narrative and shutting down anybody that disagrees with your established narrative or the narrative that your handlers establish. And I think that that's what Musk is fighting. I really do truly believe that. I'm willing to be wrong, right? Down the road, let's say something else happens. Well, I'll admit, I'll make another video and go, well, I was wrong. But my view, just trying to look at this objectively, it seems that Musk's intention is to try and right some wrongs that have been made. And I think there's been a big culture change happening with social media. Many social media companies are trying to kind of backpedal a little bit. And look, while I don't agree with the concept of backpedaling, I think that a company should have a principled and honorable stance when it comes to the way that they have their commitment to the users of their platform from the get-go. I can at least respect, like Jack Dorsey made a tweet recently that, he kind of had mentioned, hey, maybe we were wrong in a few little things, right? So at least admitting you were wrong is the first step, and then we can correct it and move on. Now, is that because there's some ever-changing political stratum? Is that because these social media companies realize that there's very much the potential for this crazy red wave midterms, and then they know that they got to play ball with those people? Who knows what the deep underlying socio-economic or socio-political implications are for this entire thing. I'm just a little man on the totem pole here. But I'd like to think that the views that I have, I would like to think maybe line up with a pretty wide variety of people. So I try my best to be fair, and I hope that you understand that why I wanted to talk about this, because Elon Musk is a polarizing figure to many, but he's also a very good guy to many. I think that a lot of people really appreciate some of the services to humanity that Elon has continued to impart. And I think that he's one of those billionaires that, at least on the surface, it appears that the things that he's doing is because he truly does care about doing what's best for humanity in general. Not just Americans, he's more of a global view in terms of, hey, what's good for humanity. And I think that we can all agree that humanity needs open discourse. We need the ability to say what's on our mind and be honest with each other and talk these things out. That's how conflict is avoided. That's how wars are avoided. You can always use the political means of solving a situation rather than resorting to some crazy violence or whatever. So I think open discourse is important. A civilized society needs the ability to put things out there, air their dirty laundry. Hey, take the good and the bad. Like, sometimes the truth hurts, right? We need to get back to understanding that sometimes the truth hurts, and we have to be honest with ourselves, because it's the only way we're going to move forward as such a melting pot of different cultures and different views. Like, I'm willing to accept that. I'm willing to accept the world that I got up in today, the world that I awoke into, is not just my world. Like, it's all of ours, right? In terms of the way, there's many, many different cultures in this country and different viewpoints. And, we are a multifaceted society in terms of how we think and how we solve problems. And I think discourse is so much more important for a place like America because we have so many different views. And those views need to be out there for the world to digest and understand. And maybe that's how we change each other's minds. Like, maybe there's a middle ground that we can all exist within. But if the platforms don't place the tools in there to allow us all to be on an open, level playing field in terms of our ideas and thoughts, then what are we doing, right? So I think that's what I really wanted to get out in this video. So I hope you follow me on Twitter. IraqVeteran8888. You can find me on Twitter over there. I love Twitter. I think it's a great site, and I really do think that Elon Musk's involvement in the platform will ultimately, I think, be good for the overall health of the platform. So I would be real curious to see what kind of changes are made. Guys, thanks so much for watching today. We really appreciate it. Big thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for supporting what we do. Go over to Ballistic Inc. and pick yourself up a snazzy new t-shirt. That's one way you can support our efforts directly if you wish. And I know this video was kind of long, but I wanted to lay this out there, and I hope you understand where I'm coming from. The First Amendment, freedom of speech is intimately intertwined with the Second Amendment. So anytime there's movement on the First Amendment, especially when it comes to the potential for social media sites to be a little bit more lenient and understanding of freedom of speech, that is a win for freedom and ultimately a win for gun owners as well, because that's how the open discourse of the way we appreciate gun ownership can ultimately be conveyed so much better in an open environment where people can feel free to say what they want. And I think that's kind of the guise I wanted this video to be under. Thank you so much for watching. Many more on the way. We'll see you soon.